Hello, everyone. Dr. Victoria Skirbo here, speaking to you from the Seeds of Transformation Healing Center in Wareham, Massachusetts. It's time to look at the astrology of the week ahead. This is the third week of May, and we're looking at the astrology from May 14th, I believe, to the 20th. Of all the weeks so far that I have looked at, this is probably, if the most intense, if not the most important week. And we had an eclipse season already. So you can just imagine, but sort of the eclipse season sort of set this up in a way for us to come to this point of choice. We're at a choice point this week, and it's very important that we choose well. So let's take a look and see what's going on. Before we get to that, I just want to give a shout out to everybody out there. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you for slogging through all these shorts that I'm doing. Hopefully to get the numbers up. But if you give me a thumbs up or like, that helps as well. So, all right, let's take a look and see what's going on here. All righty. So we are going to start as soon as my computer decides to wake up. Right here. Right here? Yes, right here. Okay, so let us do a slideshow. Slideshow, yes. Okay. All right. Let's get started. So this is just a quick overview of the week first, and then we'll get into the details. We have Sunday, May 14th, Mercury stations direct. Yes, Mercury is finally stationing direct and will be going forward again. It doesn't actually get out of its shadow until the last day of May. So as we start June, we're out of the shadow of this Mercury retrograde, and we'll have an opportunity to see more clearly and have things move forward more quickly. On Monday, the 15th, we have Mars making a trine to Neptune. This is a waxing or a growing trine. It has the energy of Leo. So there's a lot of creativity and self-expression, but also ego involved in this energetically. But it is an expression of something. And Neptune, being the slower moving planet here, is really sort of in charge, and Mars is acting in accordance with the energy from Neptune. And this can be a real opportunity for a deep healing, or this can also be just waves and waves of feeling, or it can actually be a tsunami of some sort. On the 16th of May, we have Jupiter ingress into Taurus. Jupiter is going to be there for a whole year. Jupiter in Taurus. Jupiter is an expansion principle. Taurus is about the earth and what is essential and our essential needs. So there could be a better understanding of our essential needs as Jupiter moves through Taurus. There are many different ways to sort of delineate that, many possibilities. On Wednesday, the 17th, Jupiter, freshly in Taurus, squares Pluto in Aquarius, which is pretty much still just sitting there. Pluto went into Aquarius back on the 23rd of March. It was already starting to slow down so it could have its retrograde period. It went retrograde at the beginning of this month, May 1st, actually. Very powerful day. Beltane energy, May Day energy, that fixed energy, right? And Pluto just holding firm. Pluto in Aquarius, the planet of humanity holding firm against perhaps the egos of the individual people who feel like they have what's the word I'm looking for? A right to is another word. It's that energy of, this word always escapes me. like it deserves. I deserve it because I'm special, you know, because I'm more special than anybody else, or that I'm born into the right family, or you know, it's that idea that of course I would get that, right? Like that energy. You know the word, you'll tell me, and I'll remember it maybe later. Um, so we have this first quarter square. Oh, did I talk about that? Okay, so we have Jupiter ingress into Taurus. Yes. The next day, Wednesday, Jupiter squares Pluto. Yes, I talked about this. This is a crisis point in the cycle between Pluto and Jupiter, which is about a 13, sometimes I think 14-year cycle. The last time Jupiter was in Taurus was about 12 years ago, right? And so the interaction between Pluto and Jupiter is a synodic cycle of the expansion of power. And we're at a crisis point. Whose power is going to be expanded? Is it going to be the power of the people, or the power of the oligarch, or the power of the king, or the power of the narcissist, or the power of the bully? Which power is it going to be? This first quarter square is a crisis point in the synodic cycle that had 3 initial conjunctions, all occurring in 2020. Yes, it all goes back to 2020, doesn't it? On Thursday, the 18th, we have the sun making a waxing sextile to Neptune. This is the illumination of our connection, that we're all in this together. It's an opportunity for us to open the lines of communication with each other with compassion, or open the lines of communication or open the lines of communication with divinity, our divine nature, God, goddess, all that is, whatever you want to call it. We are also, let's see, on the 19th, we have 2 things happen. We have a waxing sextile to Mercury and Saturn. This is actually the 3rd of 3. We'll talk about that when we get to it. And we also have the new moon at 29 degrees of Taurus. Yes, the new moon in Taurus is right at the end of Taurus. On Saturday, May 20th, we have Mars ingress into Leo, and about 12 hours later, Mars opposes Pluto. The Mars-Pluto cycle, synod, is how the soul takes an unconscious desire and brings it forth into consciousness. And we're going to find out just what the world soul has in store for us. Okay, press the wrong button. All right, here we go. Okay, let's take a look at some charts. So this is the Mercury direct chart. We see Mercury down here. This is a chart for the US. Apologies to anybody else who lives anywhere else. Stationing here in the 4th house, the house of land, property, and clan, as it were. 6 degrees of Taurus says cantilevered bridge across a deep gorge. The conquest of separateness through group cooperation. There's a theme here, guys. The person who has suffered deprivation and loneliness can give new substance to his or her emotional life by participating in a collective project. All great evolutionary challenges imply the overcoming of basic difficulties. The key word here is collective skill gives substance to and demonstrates man's capacity to conquer obstacles. What is this telling us? We cannot do it alone, guys. We need each other to overcome the challenges that we have, and they are many and myriad, but it would just simply be better if we stopped doing our own selfish thing and started thinking of other people and how it's affecting them. Not all about us, guys. Not. And yet in ways it is. Okay, next day, we have Mars trine Neptune. This is that tsunami or tidal wave I spoke of. This is the creative self-expressive pinnacle of ego and personal will. Trine. Acting on your beliefs, perhaps, Neptune. There are going to be people acting on their beliefs this week, depending on what they believe. Depends on, right, what we're going to see. Mars, this cycle began with the Mars-Neptune conjunction on the 18th of May last year, 2022. On that day, we had a 2911 vibration. Incidentally, that is the vibration of the word light, L-I-G-H-T. And this happened at 25 degrees of Pisces, symbol being a religious organization succeeds in overcoming the corrupting influence of perverted practices and materialized ideals. Yeah, this is, sexual abuse and greed, guys. Abuse of power and greed. But the overcoming of that, yes? So Neptune is now at 28 degrees of Pisces. A fertile garden under a full moon reveals a variety of full-grown vegetables. How many people would love to see that? How many people are hungry right now because of war, because of climate change, because of they got sick and they couldn't pay their medical bills? How many people are hungry? What are we doing, folks? What's going on here? Where's the money? Show me the money. And how's it being used? To do what? To hurt people or to help people? To starve people out or to feed them? For what? For greed? For money? So you can have it all? What does that mean? And then we have Mars at 28 degrees of Cancer. An Indian girl introduces her white lover to her assembled tribe. The inner rebirth through a total acceptance of the primordial values manifested in the human body and its natural functions. This is the symbol of, the white girl being the modern man, as it were, and then showing her lover to the assembled tribe being the indigenous. This is about a blending of that energy, of appreciating the earth knowledge of the indigenous while utilizing the technical knowledge of the white person here, right? With a white man, or, not necessarily white, but the modern person here, right? We have the capacity, we have the science, we just have to find, they always say, you have to find the political will. Well, the will of most politicians is to make more money, and people are willing to pay them. It's the will of the people that matters. It's our voice that matters, and it's our voice that has to be heard. And here we have Jupiter ingressing into Taurus. It will be there from the 16th to the 25th of May, 2024. The Sabian symbol for that first degree of Taurus, one of my favorite, clear mountain stream, meaning the pure, uncontaminated, and spontaneous manifestation of one's own nature. This is about just being yourself. How about naked and unafraid for a change? Venus, the ruler of Taurus, happens to be at 10 degrees of Cancer. I always like to look to see where the ruler of that particular sign is when another planet moves into that sign, right? And so we have Venus at 10 degrees of Cancer, a large diamond in its first stages of the cutting process, the arduous training for perfection in order to fully manifest an ideal. This opportunity, this Jupiter in Taurus, is going to give us an opportunity to work really hard toward the collective good, if that is our ideal, right? That has to be an ideal. Every time Venus moves through a sign, it's going to affect how Jupiter expresses itself, right? Venus has a retrograde cycle this year, and it's in Leo, the sign of the heart. So we're going to be doing a lot of examining of our own hearts in this process. Next. Of course, because as soon as a planet changes signs, it's going to be affected by Pluto, which is sitting at that first degree, practically still, of Aquarius. Depending on what sign the planet moves into, depends on what kind of aspect it's going to have to Pluto. And Saturn and Taurus and Aquarius are both fixed signs, and so they are square to each other. So we have a first quarter crisis in action square between Pluto and Jupiter. Pluto in this cycle that this square is part of started in 2020 when we had 3 exact conjunctions of Pluto and Jupiter. Each one of those, incidentally, was associated with a spike in the COVID deaths, at least here in the US. The first one occurred on 2/4/2020. That's February 4th, 2020. Where were you? Probably not thinking you were going to be stuck in the house for 2 more years after that. If you were lucky. If you weren't lucky, you were out there trying to stay safe in an unsafe environment, or you were in the hospital. So 2/4/2020, that vibrated to a 10-1. That is the Wheel of Fortune. That is a change of fortune. And boy, weren't there changes of fortune at 25 degrees of Capricorn. The second one occurred on the 30th of June, 2020, also at 25 degrees of Capricorn. And the vibration was the 40/4. That's the Page of Cups. That's when we started to think that it was over. Remember, we're like, oh, it's over. Now we're going to get together and the family's going to get together. And then we had a third, 11/12/2020, which vibrates to a 27/9, which is the Ace of Wands. The Ace of Wands, the root of fire, the hand of God handing you the wand of spirit. The Sabian symbols are very different. The first two, which were both at 25 degrees of Capricorn, is a store filled with precious Oriental rugs, the use of cultural and artistic processes as a means to enhance personal comfort and appreciation. But the third one and last one was at 23 degrees of Capricorn, 2 soldiers receiving awards for bravery in combat, the reward offered by society for the fulfillment of individual responsibility. Individual responsibility. That is the same degree that Pluto and Saturn conjoined on the 12th of January, 2020. Being responsible for yourself, being responsible for others, being a responsible citizen. Not everybody took their responsibilities seriously, we'll say. But many did. Many did. And we can see, here's the square, but we can also see that with Pluto here, and we have Jupiter here squaring it, which right next to the North Node. So the nodes, Pluto's been squaring the nodes now for months. And then over here, we see Mars is getting closer and closer to moving into the next sign, which is going to oppose Pluto, square Jupiter, square the nodes, right? So we have a giant square, and this giant square in the sky, this fixed square, is building power. Building power. Now, generally, these squares, especially in the fixed signs, cannot express unless they blow up or break, or there's like a break in the action, unless there are planets connected to the square. And we can see here that Neptune is connected to the square in a sextile and a trine, the sun in a sextile and a trine. So we have the sun and Neptune, which they themselves are in that sextile. That's the sextile of opening the lines of communication to spirit, opening the lines of communication to compassion, forgiveness, and love. That is the way out of this conundrum, but we will continue. So on the 19th, we have two things happen. The first thing is a waxing sextile between Saturn and Mercury. This is bringing structure to our ideas and facts collected, working hard to gather and organize information. There have been three of these. The first one happens on April 5th, 2023, at 4 degrees of Taurus and Pisces. The vibration of that day was the 16-7, which is Mars and the Tower card here. The second one occurred just last week on May 12th, 2023. That day vibrated to a 24-6. 24-6 in the tarot is the Queen of Wands with her little black cat sitting there and her sunflowers and her wand of power and her receptive, fertile energy. This is associated with Vina on the Tree of Life, which is associated with Saturn. Saturn, Lord and Lady of Karma. This vibration, the Queen of Wands, is a Leo vibration. Leo. So we have this energy here, Mars, Saturn, also a Leo vibration. And then today, the 19th, we have it at 7 degrees of Taurus and Pisces, same as this one. Of course, only a week apart, and Mercury just turned around. At the vibration is 31-4. That is the 5 of Wands in the tarot. This is Geburah, the place of instant karma, the Sephiroth of Mars, the adjuster, the clarifier, the destroyer. And we have Mars in Leo here. This is a Mars card as it's connected to the Tree of Life. And it's also a Leo card. It's actually the first decan of Leo. So if you have anything in the first decan of Leo, this is getting activated. That's the first 10 degrees. And we have Mars energy, Saturn energy, Mars energy. Remember, Mars and Saturn, even although it's wider now, is it? No, wait. Is it? No. I don't want to say that. What was trine Mars? Well, that was Neptune. Never mind. Never mind. Okay, so let's continue. Now we're going to look at the new moon, right? We have a new moon on the 19th as well at 29 degrees of Taurus, two cobblers working at a table, the twofold character of man's mature understanding. In symbolism, the feet are a symbol of understanding. Understanding differs from mere knowledge because it implies at least some degree of identification in depth with what is being understood. Understanding is a Pisces thing. We have Saturn in Pisces, right? The two cobblers symbolize two contrasting ways of approaching the understanding of an experience, especially a new experience. And they provide concrete forms which may clothe and protect the understanding. The key word here is perspective. This new moon energy is trine Mars, sextile Pluto, right? So we have it connected to this grand square in the sky. It is also sextile Neptune. So the intentions that you plan on this day are so very vital. And what is Taurus about? Our essential needs. Taurus is about life. We're being asked to move in the direction of life. South Node in Scorpio, moving away from the death cult into life. Now the nodes are going to move and going to shift in July. The North Node is going to be going into Aries and the South Node is going to be going into Libra. So the rulers of the nodes switch now. Right now, Venus is in charge of the North Node and Mars is in charge of the South Node. But after July, when the nodes change signs, and then incidentally, exactly square Pluto, which will be in Capricorn at that time, Mars will be in charge of the North Node, and Venus will be in charge of the South Node. Venus, as the ruler of Taurus, is at 13 degrees of Cancer. I believe that's conjunct in the United States sun. A hand with a prominent thumb is held out for study. The keynote here is the power of the will in shaping character. This symbol confronts a person or a situation. It is shown that a strong will is required to face the issue at stake. The key word here is character. We need to be our best selves through this. Seriously. Being willing to chip in, work, do what we need to do, and have healthy boundaries. This is not about being any kind of doormat. This is about doing your part and expecting others to have the character to do their part. And in doing it together, we can overcome quite a bit. And there's a lot to overcome. Mars ingresses into Leo on the 20th. This occurs, at least on the East Coast of the United States, relatively early, like 11:30 maybe in the morning. By 11:30 at night, this Mars is making an exact opposition to Pluto. So this is a March 20th, very powerful day, powerful energies. So Mars is ingress into Leo, blood rushes to a man's head as his vital energies are mobilized under the spur of ambition. The eruption of biophysical energies into the ego-controlled field of consciousness. The key symbol for Leo depicts the rising of the energy from the heart to the head, and hopefully from the head to the heart. Thinking with our heart and feeling with our minds. A mentalization process. However, this process can be a potentially dangerous one. Keyword conflagration. So this would be a very easy time to blow it all up, wouldn't it? The sun, the ruler of Leo, is at 30 degrees of Taurus. I always look to see what the ruling planet of the sign that Mars moved into, or any other planet really, but we're dealing with Mars. And so we look to Leo. We want to see, we look to the sun, right? We look to the sun. The sun is at 30 degrees of Taurus. It's like it just had its new moon at 29 degrees of Taurus, the cobblers, right? Now, what is the symbol? Because it's the next degree of Taurus. It says a peacock parading on the terrace of an old castle. A lot of symbology here, right? The personal display of inherited gifts. A great person able to display a multitude of gifts is always at one level or another a consummation of a long past of efforts and victories. As a great occultist once wrote, adepts are the flowering of their race and cultures. The peacock is the bird consecrated to Venus. In occult tradition, the Promethean spirits who gave to animal mankind the divine gift of self-consciousness, intelligence, and self-conscious intelligence had come from Venus, which may or may not refer to the physical planet we can observe in the sky. Venus is the power of the feminine, guys. Power of the feminine. Here we have Maat, the goddess of justice, whose symbol was the peacock. She would take the feather and measure it against your heart to make sure your heart was light. Leo is about bravery and courage and heart. Volodymyr Zelensky has his Mars at the first degree of Leo, as does possibly, I'm not exactly sure, but possibly, but close enough, Michael Cohen. Both of those men were under a tremendous amount of pressure. Of course, I would say probably Volodymyr's a little bit more, but certainly not to take away from what Michael Cohen has had to go through this process. But he also has a path of life that's the Ace of Swords. So he came here to do that, guys. As did E. Jean Carroll, whose shadow vibration was the Ace of Swords. And in the healing of the shadow, you shine the light for humanity. It is the gift that you give. She gave us the gift of standing up for yourself and holding somebody responsible for something they did. Okay. And then we talk about the Mars opposition to Pluto. Mars and Pluto have a special relationship. Their synodic cycle, Pluto being our subconscious desires or unconscious desires, I should say, and Mars being our conscious desires. When these two planets conjoin, Pluto seeds that unconscious desire into Mars, and Mars goes on its way to express that unconscious desire. But the first part of this, the first hemicycle, from conjunction to opposition, is done in the dark. It's done underground. We don't know what's happening really. And so we had a retrograde period of Mars. So this is an extraordinarily long sort of journey of Mars through the darkness, because during that period we had Mars retrograde and in Gemini for 7 months. So long time in Gemini, part of that retrograde. Lots of information. That's when all the we're getting all the dumps of information. It was all coming out, everybody's hard work. And we will continue to get information, and we will continue to figure out what that's going to mean. I would be remiss if I did not bring up war crimes here. That will be looked at. And that is part of the new consciousness. Why are we even doing that? What right do we have? Okay. The culmination of the first part of the synodic cycle between Mars and Pluto, that's the opposition phase. This cycle began at the Mars-Pluto conjunction on 3/3/2022, which vibrated to a 12/3, which is the Hanged Man. We're in a Hanged Man month, people. This is connected to that. That's Neptune. We have Neptune helping this giant pressure cooker from exploding. Neptune and the sun. And also like that new moon, right? Because the new moon energy is there now. It'll sit there through the month as we start to expand on that experience of the moon and the sun. This initial conjunction occurred at 28 degrees of Capricorn, which happens to be the United States Pluto. It also happens to be my Saturn. A large aviary, the enjoyment of spiritual values by a soul able to familiarize itself with its implication, clairaudience. This is about the ability to sit with all the different voices and know that we are still one. That we are still one. Now we have reached the culmination of the hidden part of this cycle. We see the oppositional sides. We get awareness. Who's on what side here? The awareness we garner will now be disseminated through the second half of the cycle, from the opposition of Pluto and Mars to the new conjunction of Pluto and Mars, which occurs on the 14th, Valentine's Day, 2024. At what? 1 degree of Aquarius, guys. There's that 1 degree of Aquarius. Again, we're moving forward, guys. Leaps and bounds, leaps and bounds. Mars at 1 degree of Leo, a blood rushes to a man's head as his vital energies are mobilized under the spur of ambition. This can be the megalomaniac, crazy, narcissistic, crazy person. Opposite Pluto, an old Adobe mission in California, the power inherent in all great human works to endure far beyond the worker's lifespan. Not a single person built that Adobe mission. It was a group of people, and it has lasted the test of time. Individual things are these little like blips, but the things that really last, there's the influence of that Leo, right? That creative spark, but it's getting down to getting people to work towards a common goal and a common good. That really is is what's going to last. And that's really what we're asking ourselves to do, work toward a common good in Aquarius. Okay, so I think that's it. Just make double sure. Yep. Sunday, incidentally, which we're not going to talk about, the sun moves into Gemini. So all that Taurus intensity all of a sudden goes into Gemini, and we're starting to talk about it. Okay. All right, guys. So hopefully this was, it's probably too long, but hopefully it was illuminating to you. This is the deal, guys. We're at a choice point. Are we going to choose life or are we going to choose death? If we continue to go the way we're going, all right, that's the death cult, right? It's time to move in the direction of light and love and life and helping one another. The earth is going to make us do it one way or the other. So we can have these crazy wars and all this other stuff, but the earth has the last laugh here. And we have to start loving our mother. Perfect for Mother's Day, right? Tomorrow. So love your mother, love your Mother Earth, love one another, give a hand up to somebody in need if you can, or reach your hand up if you need help. We are here for each other. We are all one. Namaste. Happy Mother's Day to all those mothers out there. Love you much. Bye-bye.